Hello, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Veil Oracle. Let's get down to the nitty gritty of this reading because I had to spend so much time last night figuring out what I'm going to say, and because I do have a lot to say, but I can't say everything, and so I had to break it down into an outline, which has three parts to it. We'll talk briefly about the meet and greet, and then why the Empress hasn't shown up yet, and then the last part would be KR or Keanu versus the world. Okay. So, and I'm sure you're like, what does that mean? Okay. Well, you'll find out later on in the reading. I hope everyone's doing well. It's a nice day over here in my neighborhood. Oh my God. I just want to like stay outside with my kitty. It's so nice out there right now. It's breezy and warm. Beautiful day. Anyway, so I wanted to start with the meet and greet, and I did ask some of you, did you go to the show in Vegas? And only one person responded. She said it was a good show. But then I asked her, well, did she meet Keanu? And she hasn't responded. So probably most likely she didn't meet him because I sent in my spy. Okay, I have friends all over the place, friends in Vegas. Okay, and my friend did a little bit of she went around the line, the VIP line, and did a little bit of questioning. And so there was a VIP line, okay? And if you didn't get a VIP ticket, you didn't get to meet Keanu, okay? Okay, what they did was they have a VIP ticket now, which is from $250 to $2,400, depending on where you're gonna sit and stuff like that, and what you can afford. And my friend talked to this one lady. She spent $250 on her ticket, and she says, "Well, what's this VIP ticket about?" She says, "Well, it's going to allow you to photograph with the band, and you can buy merchandise." And but they did ask. She said not to bring anything to autograph because you would just be doing like a group photo, and it would be signed by the group. So this allows, on a business side, it allows for everybody in the band to be seen and to shine. And I think that's what Keanu wants. He wants everybody to start, kind of giving a little bit more attention to Brett and Rob and not just him. And so it allows everybody kind of like to, get involved with the whole group instead of just focusing on Keanu. And so that's like the business side. And I can understand that. It also kind of relieves him from signing all these autographs. So what happened too is that you might come with a friend, but you might not be able to take a photo with your friend because they would like take about 10 people in line and move them below the stage, and then the band would be above the stage, and then a picture would be taken. Okay, so you really didn't even get to mingle with the band. The band's above and you're below, and you're not even in a photograph with maybe your friend. Okay, so it's just they just take the next, they just take, here's 10 people, go in, photograph, then the next 10. It's like that. So you might get separated from a friend or something when it comes to the photograph. But that's the bummer side. That's the shadow side because now this type of, business keeps you at a distance physically from Keanu, right? You're not going to be able to really talk to him or shake his hand or anything like that, like you could back in 2023 when they did the tour around the country. So yeah, that's the shadow side. I can understand the business side, but then this is a bummer. You just are not gonna easily meet him and talk to him like you could in the past. So, and it seems like they every time now there's something new going on. I know that towards the end of the tour 2023 in North Carolina, there was a real expensive meet and greet in North Carolina, and only people who could afford could go deal with Keanu. It was like $5,000. That's what I was told. It was like a $5,000 meet and greet. So, if you were able to get a VIP ticket, congrats, and maybe you did talk to him. I don't know for sure, but the people in line said that there wasn't really going to be any, time to talk to him or even shake his hand or anything. It was just like handled in a very strict manner. Get you in, get you out. So that was the meet and greet for Dogstar in Las Vegas. And I was so excited, for everybody. It seems like it's totally like changed. They changed the way they handle the meet and greets. Hopefully, that's not going to be at every event. Maybe with just Dogstar, but as other events, hopefully it won't be like that. Hopefully, you'll be able to, have a one-on-one with him or something. Um, so that's that. That takes care of that part of the um, information I wanted to share with you. So now we're going to talk about why the Empress hadn't shown up yet, and no one else is going to tell you this. Okay, no one else is going to tell you this. I listen to all kinds of readings on the Empress, and some stuff is just about fluff. I call it fluff. It's just fluff. I really try to get to the nitty gritty. I've told you that I was a psychic child. I still have my psychic abilities. They were dormant for a while because I just didn't want to deal with them, and I just ignored my abilities. But they're back, and I'm really trying to develop them more. And I grew up in like a disturbed home. I call them disturbed homes when they're haunted. I grew up in a disturbed home, haunted home. I've lived in several. I've been to seances with some of my psychic friends, and and I've seen ghosts. Okay, and I always ask the Lord, I want to see a ghost. I've seen two ghosts. I get visits sometimes, visitations, and so I kind of like, because of this kind of experience, I've always wanted to like know what's really going on the other side. Like, I don't like fluff. I wouldn't tell you something if it wasn't truthful, because I'm totally here to combat and fight deception. That's in my birth chart. Okay, that's one of my purposes in life. Not to, it's to fight against deception and lies and things like that. So I always look for the truth, and I get really into this stuff. I could go and consult with other people. I will do my own little, investigating, whatever, just to kind of get to the truth. So, and it's not what you're going to want to hear, because I have been in contact with, I feel, the real Empress. Okay. And I feel like 90% of me feels she's the one. She's very authentic, and she doesn't come across like, like she thinks she's special. Actually, she feels this has been a very painful experience all of her life over the last 35 years or so. It's been very painful. It's has not been fun. And I'm going to tell you some things she's told me and why I'm convinced it's her. So, like I said, it's been over 35 years, she says, where she's have made attempts to get in touch with Keanu. And it's true that she did send him a letter once, okay, which was not responded to. Okay, but she did move in his circle while working in Hollywood, because she was also into filmmaking and study film. And she moved in his circles, and they actually seen each other. Okay. And she went to see him in the 90s when he was at the Roxy. She saw him perform when he was in his 30s and stuff like that. So one disturbing thing she told me, too, was that she has no memory of her ages from 1 to 3. So she has no memory of 1, 2, and 3 in the crib or anything like that. And this is what has always disturbed her, this darkness, this like not knowing what happened to her when she was a little girl. She feels maybe at this time this is probably when somebody or something kind of cursed her. She kind of feels like she's cursed. She told me she doesn't know what happened, but she's getting close to, she's getting downloads. She's finding out, what could have gone wrong, because she feels that her life kind of was out of alignment for a long time. Strange events would happen that she's like, why am I attracting these events and things when it was never my, interest in attracting these things. Just strange events happening that threw her off her course in life. And so she's been hearing things about maybe possibly somebody jealous, somebody evil, somebody either on the other side or when she was a little girl did something to her, cursed her or something, and maybe even well, when they cursed her, they cursed him too. It would he didn't take the brunt. She took the brunt. She's the one who's made the sacrifice. Okay, she's been making the sacrifice and living a really kind of like modest, humble, life compared to him. She didn't get the fame, the fortune like him, but they were meant to come together so they would share, their gifts together. She has the same gifts as him. She's very much like him. She's an artist, just like him. She's done very similar things. She has a scar just like him. She's like him, but just on a, a smaller level or unknown level. Nobody really knows and who she is. She doesn't brag about it. She's just been very concerned throughout life. She's consulted lots of psychics to understand her situation, and she spent lots of money, she said, on trying to understand the situation. And not everybody, she said, was open and telling her the truth. They would not tell her the truth. And now she's definitely, getting the story, getting the real true story of what's happened to her and why she lived the life she lived and why she was always interested in wanting to meet Keanu and be with Keanu. Of course, she loves him, but I'll tell you, she said she's not going to make any more attempts to meet him. Okay, there is a story that she calls the ghost story, which is very similar to Keanu's story. Keanu said when he was a little boy, his sisters and him saw a ghost, and it was like a coat or something that came and appeared to them. They were like, I guess, in their beds, and then at the doorway, a floating coat or something appeared before them, and then it disappeared. And that interview is online, it's on YouTube, where Keanu tells the interviewer that he saw a ghost once. And the funny thing is, she mentioned that, she goes, that the really, really weird thing is that she mentioned her own ghost story. Okay, when she was little and she was in a room with her siblings, the boys were in a bunk bed and the girls were on a bunk bed, and they saw a floating head. Okay, a floating head come towards them, but of course they didn't know, what it was. They didn't know what they were looking at. It was like a kid-friendly floating head, type of thing, and then it disappeared. It was a ghost, and she, when she found out he had a ghost story, she figures that was the head that belonged to the coat that he saw. Okay, so he saw the coat, she saw the head, right? So she really ties those together really well, and I go, that's different. Nobody else says anything like that. Everyone else who says, "Oh, he's with me, I'm the one," they always, they talk a lot of fluff. They don't have anything authentic to really say. No real background information to report that connects them. But she was really making a lot of connections, as best as she could, and she wasn't like trying to prove herself. She's just saying, this is it. I'm the one. I know I'm the one. And these are some of the things she's gone through. And throughout her life, she's been under psychic attacks as well. She says, and they've become more frequent. Every time she tries to reach out, she experiences psychic attacks. Okay, and some of them have gotten violent. She said one was when she last tried to get in contact. A light bulb blew up or exploded above her head when she was in her bedroom. And then she had to go and consult with a psychic and find out what that was about. And it was, a psychic attack on her because she was trying to, once again, get in touch with Keanu. So something, to me, when things like that happen, something is trying to prevent her from getting in contact with Keanu. She knows other celebrities, but never has experienced anything like that except for when it comes to Keanu. So to me, that's a sign that something out there doesn't want her to get in touch with him, does not want them together. Could be somebody's black magic, something that happened when she was really young. She really feels it was when she was young. And it also could have been, when she before she was born. But if it happened when she was a child, you know, this is the perfect time to do your black magic if you're going to do black magic on someone, because they're powerless, right? There's a baby and they're powerless. They don't know what's going on, right? And this person really created a lot of damage in her life. She's had a lot of damage. She has nothing good to say, you know. She had nothing good to say. And the day of reckoning came when she said, "Oh, I'm just not going to, you know, look for him anymore. I'm not going to make any effort." And she, you know, just so she could have a peace of mind and go about her life. She really wants him to find her now. And because Keanu hasn't really been doing his work, you know, he's just been blocked by his management, blocked by AG. You know, he's going to have to, if he really wants to find her, he's going to really have to take a sabbatical or something, like take some time off, like a year or two, and really do some deep soul searching and to really put energy into looking for her, because it's going to be like a needle in a haystack now, because she says she's not going to make any more attempts to get in contact with him. She's done. She said it's been a big ordeal. So you wouldn't even think, you know, you think the Empress would be this happy-go-lucky, and she is happy in her own way. She says she's at peace. She likes to paint. She does, you know, she does fun stuff. She works in her community. She's happy, but when it comes to like trying to get in touch with him, it's a struggle. It's painful. It's like when she gets attacked for doing it, and she says she's had lots of explanations and people helping her, trying to understand, you know, other psychics trying to help her understand, and, you know, how and why this is happening to her. Um, but if he cannot find the letter, she told me it will be very difficult for them to come together, because, like she said, she's not going to be reaching out anymore. So, but she was someone who worked in Hollywood, and so that's the story. That's why she hasn't shown up, and it's been like 3.5 years to 4 years. And you know, I feel that even though other readers might say she's on her way, this to me is the most authentic uh, information I could find from someone who is saying she is the one, but she's not. You know, she's not making any effort or attempts anymore to you know, make it happen. It's up to Keanu now. You know, Keanu really needs to do his work. She feels she's done her work. She's done her duty. She's done whatever she could do. As a couple, they would be very powerful, you know, together, um, to combat whatever their spiritual purpose or duty was going to be or is going to be if they do meet. And he might show up with somebody else. You know, it's all about free will. So he might stay with AG for the rest of his life, or he might get with an actress finally. He doesn't seem to date actresses. He's has in the past, but not recently. I don't know. He's taken AG over actresses, so I don't understand that part of the, you know, equation. But um, yeah, it's when I read all this information she gave me, um, it just sounds like it rings true. You know, it's not fluff, and it's not a fairy story. You know, so I know that's not what everybody wants to hear, and that, like I said, doesn't mean that he's not gonna meet someone, uh, you know, in the future. But uh, it won't be her if he doesn't find her. You know, if he doesn't really focus and do whatever it is he needs to do to find the true one. You know, he can be with anybody. You know, at any time, anywhere, anytime. So it's up to him if he wants to be with this anybody, or does he want the one. If he wants the one, he's going to have some difficulty now, because, you know, she's burned out. It's been a long journey. We think it's been like only the last 2-3 years, but for her, it's been like over 35 years. Okay, so it's been a long time. And so that's the report on why she hasn't shown up. And it's kind of sad, I think. It's kind of sad, you know. Uh, again, she contacted me, and I've had to do my own, like, you know, my own research on it, and I brought in some of my friends, and so that's our conclusion. We think that she is the one. At least, yeah, she's the closest that I've ever talked to. That might be the one. God, that was even talking about it. It makes me tired. Okay, so let's get to KR and the world. Okay, I pulled two cards. We got the King, which is Keanu, right? And then we got, guess what we got for the world? Really scary. Venom. So this is what Keanu's going to be dealing with if he ever does ascend. And, he's already ascended, but I'm talking about as far as ascending to do the spiritual work he's supposed to be doing with the Empress. So this is what he would be dealing with if he was working with the Empress. Okay. Like I said, they would be a very powerful couple if they were to come together. Now, the king speaks for itself. We all know what the king is. The other words for king is like emperor, ruler, something like that. Um, but Venom representing the world is it's really scary, but it also makes a lot of sense because I just came from a 11-day cross country vacay or getaway. I went to go see a friend on the West Coast. Now I'm back over here in the South. So I just say east to west or west to east or whatever. It's a 2,300-mile journey. I went by Greyhound because I didn't want to do Amtrak. Sometimes I've done the Amtrak before, but I said not this time because I couldn't get the schedule together for some reason to work for me. And then I didn't want to do the plane because the plane crashes. We've been having too many plane crashes. So I said, no, 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 I'm not going to get on the plane. So my other option was, you either drive yourself or you get on Greyhound, right? So I did Greyhound. Greyhound's it was fun going there. Okay, when I was on the road going there, the buses were pretty empty. I got there really fast. It was peaceful. So peaceful. I mean, I got there really fast. I was like, whoa, and I got to see a lot of things. Like we went through Phoenix and Tucson and things like that. And Tucson downtown, very cute, very cute. I love it. Um, but coming back was so miserable. I'll never forget. It was such a miserable journey back, and I missed two transfers, so I ended up staying an extra 24 hours at each transfer point, getting home 2 days late. Okay, than I had planned. During this time, I'm telling you, uh, I was just surrounded by such low vibrating people. The collective around me of people were so low vibrating. They were very stressful. They stressed me out. I mean, it would be very loud, loud on the bus, loud on one of my buses was a kind of rowdy bus, and they didn't really listen to the bus driver. And they were rowdy. They gave me headaches. I kept getting headaches. I kept getting dizzy. These people were driving me nuts. There was two arguments, and I had to come between two arguments and help these people kind of calm down. There was a real obnoxious person in the middle of the night when everybody was sleeping on the bus. He was like, "Does anybody have any water? Does anybody have any water?" And then in the morning, somebody threw a bottle of water at him. And that's how crazy it was. And there was a lot of people, obese people, people out of shape. We were eating junk food all the way home. Every truck stop was junk food, junk food. I was starting to feel like, oh my God, I need fruit, I need vegetables, I need something healthy, right? And I was getting constipated, and these people were driving me nuts. The only peaceful time was when I saw this Amish family getting off the Amtrak, and they sat near me, waiting for their, train to come. They were get I guess a transfer, and they were just so peaceful, and their kids were playing, but they were very quiet people, very peaceful. And the kids waved at me and everything. Kids love waving at me, but and they usually don't communicate or even wave, but these kids decided to wave, and Parents didn't seem to mind, but they were so peaceful and quiet compared to the Americans, the other American children. The other American children were running around, screaming, yelling, having temper tantrums. Like, I mean, I was so embarrassed. Right? I was so embarrassed. Um, they must really, really think low of, of the rest of the Americans, even though they are like stuck in like the 1840s or something. I don't like their clothes, you know, but they do make nice furniture, and they seem to be nice people. And it was they were the only nice, peaceful people. I did talk to a few other people that seemed to be, down to earth. This one guy, we were like talking about old songs, and we listened to like Kansas City, Here I Come by Fats Domino, and all that kind of stuff. It was fun, and I was ready to do karaoke right there on the bus, but we were listening to oldies and stuff. But for the most part, that was the most stressful experience I ever had in my life when I returned home. I can't even begin to tell you the stress of what I experienced. I just couldn't wait to get home. And it seemed like forever to get home. And I was stuck at the St. Louis, Missouri station, which is cold and dirty. And above you, it's underneath the train or something, or the metro. So above you hear the metro. It has they don't have any way to warm up the place, and the bathroom was closed down, so you had to go out onto these outhouses or these porta potties and stuff. And oh my god, I was so disgusted. And you had to stay up all night because you don't want somebody to rip your stuff off either. And there was like one security guard, and he was, he had no he was, what do you call those ones, he was not dressed in his garb, like he was one of those security guards that didn't have like the uniform on, so you didn't really know he was security. But in the morning, they did bring in some securities who had guns and things like that. But it was really just a very surreal, weird experience. Then, so when I look at what I experienced across the country and seeing how low vibrating people are, I would give America right now a D or D minus, as opposed to when I went and traveled across the country about 12 years ago, it was about B minus. People were a little bit more upbeat. I feel, of course, we're a little down because of the stress of inflation. Inflation's really bringing people down, you know, really is. We really got to do something about the inflation, and things costing us too much. I think that's contributing to the low vibration that we're experiencing in the country now. But yeah, it gave me headaches, dizziness. The noise level was irritating. I was just miserable. I've never been so miserable. I'm so happy I'm home. And I slept like such a baby when I got home. I slept, I didn't even know it was sleeping. That's how I, I immediately fell asleep when I hit the pillow. I just like was out, blacked out, because I was so exhausted from my experience coming back. So this is, to me, venom. This represents venom, right? This is what venom is right now in the world. It's just so much craziness everywhere you look. There's a lot of craziness, and this would be what I guess Keanu and the Empress would have to deal with. And I don't know if it's going to get any better. People are saying, no, the good old days are gone. Maybe the good old days are gone. I don't know if we're going to improve. I hope we improve. Uh, we need some help down here for sure. But it starts with us. We have to be more positive, and I could feel people just pulling my high vibrating self down. I try to keep my vibrations up, and I could feel this coming down, coming down. I think I've been talking too much now. I've been rambling too much. So this is going to be a little longer than maybe I wanted it to be. And I think the next show, maybe we can talk more about uh, Venom and the King later in more detail. Or I'll pull some other cards. Let's see what else we can talk about. I did pull some love cards and things, so I'm going to present those as little shorts later on. Some love cards um, for Keanu. But again, I'm just not seeing, you know, or believing the Empress is on her way anymore. She's not on her way anymore. But you might hear other readers say she is. It's up to you what you want to believe. Like I said, I really try to dig for the truth. They say it's for entertainment purposes only, but I really try to get down to the real truth of the matter. Um, I look a little more deeply, and there were two other readers that I wanted to mention that they were actually removed or scared. So they were threatened, and they removed their channels. It was Mary 40 and Celebrity Witch. They were really good. They really could get uh, information that other people couldn't, pull. And so I really was, you know, one of their followers because they're like me. They were really getting the real information, not the fluff, but the real information. And they were actually threatened, and they removed their channels because I think sometimes when people threaten you is because they know you're telling the truth and they don't want you to tell those things. They don't want you to tell the truth. So that's it for now. I hope I didn't bum people out. And I'm going outside to have a good time with my kitty. You go do the same. And I hope this, gave you a little bit more insight into what is going on. Okay, everybody. Take care. Talk later. Bye bye. XOXO.